Welcome back to Aeon's End playthrough. I'm doing a complete two-player playthrough. This will be the start of gameplay. And so what I've done for hit points is I've put 10s on each of the players, and I have dice to designate when the minions come out instead of using the tokens. This is the turn order deck. So it's a variable turn order for the game. There's 2-player 1, 2-player 2, and 2 Nemesis in the deck. And we'll just give this a shuffle. And what I'm going to do per episode is I will do one complete round, I guess we'll call it, of all of these cards per episode. And I'll try to go slow enough so they don't make mistakes, but quick enough that you don't get bored to death. All right. So what we do on the turn is, of course, we take the turn order card and we see who gets to go first in this round. And it's the Nemesis. All right, well, let's take a look at the Nemesis turn. And we have a main phase. It says, from oldest to newest, resolve the effects of the minion and power cards the Nemesis has in play. Well, right now, our Nemesis, the Rageborne, has no cards in play because, well, it's the very first turn. So, continue on. We go to the draw phase. Draw a card from the Nemesis deck. And it tells you what to do. If it's an artifact or if it's an attack card, resolve the effect immediately. If it's a minion card or power card, place it into play with the appropriate number of life or power tokens. Resolve any effects following immediately on the card. The rest of its effects will not be resolved this turn. All right, and it tells you what happens if one of our two mages, I guess, two of our heroes get exhausted. You follow those steps. All right, so that's basically how we do things. So we're going to flip off the top card of the Rageborne deck, and we're going to see what it is. And it is a Provoker. So there are these vicious hound things attacking Gravehold, and they have 5 health. And they're persistent. Gravehold suffers damage equal to the number of Fury tokens the Rageborne has. And Rageborne right now starts with 1. So they don't actually activate right now. They just come into play. The next time another Nemesis card comes up, they will activate. So let's put 5 health. I'm just going to use a little mini dice with a number 5 on here, designating how much health they have. So if we don't get rid of them, they're going to cause us issues as we continue to play. That's basically one of the 6 cards, and we'll come right back. We'll flip the next card and see whose turn it is next. All right, so let's get flipping the second card, and we're going to see whose turn it is now. Wow, shuffled like mad. The Nemesis gets to go again. That's kind of a bad thing, but it might be a good thing because it's going to mean that the next 4 turns after this one are going to be player turns, so we will be able to do things. However, as we know with the Nemesis turn, we have to resolve oldest to newest, the cards in play. Well, the card that's in play, of course, is this one, and it will come into effect now. Persistent Gravehold suffers damage equal to the number of Fury tokens the Rageborne has. Well, the Rageborne only has 1 Fury token, so that's not too devastating yet. Gravehold, though, is going to be knocked down to 29 hit points from 30. Again, if it reaches 0, we lose the game. And next up is we're going to do the draw phase. So we're going to draw the next Nemesis card. And it is another minion. And 6 health, Banespire, minion persistent, Unleash. Wow. Okay, so that's going to be the second one in a row. So what does Unleash mean? Let's take a look at the Rageborne again. The Unleash ability, Rageborne gains 1 Fury token. That's what Unleash does. And I should read down here, at the end of the Nemesis turn, if Rageborne has 4 or more Fury tokens, he strikes once. Well, he doesn't. He only has 1 Fury token, but and that's all he's got. And this one will not activate right now because it has just come into play. However, we will put a little red die on here, designating it has 6 hit points. So we have 11 hit points of minions sitting out here bothering us, and we also have a 70 hit point Rageborne demon that we're trying to get rid of. All right, up next, I'm going to flip another card. Well, we're going to flip it right now. We're going to see which player is going to. It's either going to be player 1 or player 2. And it is player 2. Well, who is player 2? Player 2 is Zahana. So let's go down to her play area here and take a look at what's going on. And we're going to play her turn. Right after, of course, we take a look at what do we do on a player's turn. Well, we start with a casting phase. You may cast any of your prepped spells in your open breaches. You must cast any of your prepped spells in closed breaches. Place cast spells on top of your discard pile as they are cast. And the main phase, after you do this, you may resolve the following actions in any order and as many times as you want. So we can play a gem or relic card, gain a charge, focus a breach, open a breach, prep a spell to a breach, resolve a while prepped effect, resolve a to discard effect, and then at the very end, when we finished all that, we do the draw phase. And this is very important. Place all the gems and relics that you have played this turn on top of your discard pile in any order you choose. Draw cards on the top of your deck until you have 5 cards in your hand. This becomes really important because you can get things kind of out of order. And what it means is after you play your cards, you don't play them and they go into the discard pile. It means you play all of your cards and at the very end you put them in the discard pile. Spells that are cast immediately once you cast them go into your discard pile, and things you purchase go immediately into the discard pile. But the cards that you play from your hand, you get to put them in the order that you want at the end of your turn. Keep that in mind. All right, let's zoom down on Zahana and see what she's going to do with her cards. All right, so we have Zahana here. And this is her hand. Remember, we have a starting hand and a starting deck, and it's all set. You can't do much about it. She has 10 health. And so she has her Eternal Ember. It's a spell. And I should say we're going to do the casting phase first, but we have no open breaches. We have no spells in anywhere, so we're just going to skip that. So now we're into playing cards. So she has 1, 2, 3, 4 crystal, and this is ether. I think I was saying it was focus or mana or power or whatever it's designated. It's supposed to be ether. She will prep this spell, though, well, we can't prep it because we don't have any focused or open breaches. So what I'm going to do, we have 4 ether, and with the 4 ether, and I'm going to put these to the left here because we don't put them in our discard till we're finished, because we can put them in any order we want. If we look at breach number 4, it has 4 ether to open. And so we're going to spend all 4 of our ether from our crystals. We're going to open this breach, and breach 4 has opened. And it's +1 damage on cast. When you cast a spell from this now open breach number 4, it's going to add 1 extra damage. And again, we can do these things in any order we want. So now we're going to prep the Eternal Ember spell to our open breach. And so next time player 2 activates, we can either use it to cast, deal 1 damage, or cast one of your prep spells without discarding it. Well, I don't know if we're going to be able to do that because we have to have another prep spell. So we're going to prep this spell. So how it works is we're prepping the spell, but we can't cast it this turn immediately. We're just done prepping. And now it is the the draw phase. We've basically done everything we can do. So we're going to, and of course we can discard these cards in any order we want, because when we run over our draw deck, we're just going to take this deck and we're going to flip it over. We're not going to shuffle it. So it's a little unique in this game. So again, they're all identical cards, so it really makes no difference how we discard them. We've got 4 crystals in a row. And now we're going to draw up to 5 cards again. And I thought somewhere on here it told you what the hand limit was. I don't think. It's just 5 cards. All right. Might be a different game. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the last 5 cards. And it's going to be her starting deck. So it's going to be a spark, crystal, 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 and crystal. So this is going to be her hand for next turn. So that's basically player 2 done. Let's draw another card off the top of the turn order deck and see who goes next. All right, drawing the next turn order card. Who is going to be going next? Player 1. Okay, who is player 1? Well, player 1 obviously is Mist. So we're going to zoom down over in Mist's area, and she's going to have her turn following the same steps Zahana just did. All right, so Mist here, this is Mist's starting hand. She has 1 crystal, 2 crystals, 3 crystals, a spark, and a garnet shard. And again, there's no spells here, so we're not going to do a cast phase this turn because there's nothing to cast. So she may as well prep her spark spell into her open breach, number 1, because it starts open. Now she has 1, 2, 3 ether with crystals, and she has the garnet shard, which can either give 1 crystal or cast any player's prepped spell. So we could cast player 2's spell if we want to. but I don't see a reason for doing that. Not really any reason to do it. So we're going to use this to gain 1 ether. So we're going to end up with 1, 2, 3, 4 ether that we can spend. And we can spend 2 ether twice to get, we can get charges here. Or we can purchase something, or we can try opening a breach. We could actually open this breach, or we could focus our number 4 breach, which gives us +1 damage if we get it open. All kinds of options. So we have 4 to spend. We can also just get another crystal. I'm thinking we might get one of these ruby gems costing 4. It gives us gain 2 and gain an additional 1 that can only be used to gain spells. I think we're going to purchase this. Now when you spend your ether to purchase a gem or spell or artifact, it immediately goes in the discard pile. So that has to go in the discard pile. So we basically spent everything. We've used this as an ether, 4 ether. Now we can put these cards back in any order we want here. So I think we're going to take the garnet shard and place it down first, because when we flip this deck over, this will be near the top. And of course we have 3 crystals, which are all the same. So we're going to place them down. Now we're into the draw step. So we're going to draw up her next hand of 5 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which of course is her deck, which is going to be a spark, crystal, crystal, and crystal. So that's going to be Mist's hand for the next turn. All right, we can see it just at the top. We're going to flip over the next card. We're going to see who goes next. And the next player is player 1. So basically, Mist is going to be going again. So we're right here. Let's do it. First thing we do, now we're going to take a look at this again, because we're into the casting phase. You may cast any of your prep spells in open breaches, and that's a may cast, and then you must cast any of your prep spells in closed breaches. What that means is you can focus a breach, put a spell on it, but then it must be cast if it's not open. This breach in particular is open, so if we didn't want to, which we will want to, we don't have to cast this spell. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to cast it. And by casting it, we basically deal 1 damage. And as soon as you cast a spell, it immediately goes into the discard pile. So we're going to do 1 damage. Let's go over to the Rageborne area. We're going to figure out which damage we're going to deal out, and then we're going to come back and play Mist. All right, so Mist cast the Spark spell. We really have 3 options here. We can attack the Banespire, the Banesire. We can attack the Provoker, or we can attack the Rageborne himself. He has 70 hit points. Eventually, we got to try to get rid of him. These guys, though, are pretty nasty characters to have kicking around. This one's going to keep doing damage to Gravehold. This one's going to keep adding rage tokens to the Rageborne. Both bad news. I think we're going to go ahead and hit the Provoker for 1, taking him from 5 hit points down to 4. So that was our Spark spell going off. Let's go back now to player 1, Mist, and she's going to now go into the main phase by playing cards and doing other actions. All right, let's pick up her hand again. Now she has 1, 2 sparks and 3 ether. I think we're going to go ahead and spend the 3 ether. If you look at this one here, her breach number 2, it says 3 ether to open. It just opens it. So boom, we're spending our 3 ether. Now we don't have to put these in a discard yet. We're just playing these cards. We've opened the breach. So now we have 2 complete open breaches. We have 2 spark spells. So let's go ahead and put prep 1 spark spell per open breach. So we're getting ready for her next turn. And then we're finished, and so we're into the draw phase. So we're going to place our cards in any order. Well, they're all the same, so they're going to go on top of the draw deck. Now what's going to happen is draw cards until you have 5 cards. So instead of shuffling your discard pile, which would be like a lot of deck builders, this just gets flipped right over without shuffling. And then we're going to draw 5 cards. 1, 2, off the top. 3, 4, 5. And then we already knew what we put kind of on the bottom. So now we have our Searing Ruby, Garnet Shard, Crystal, Crystal, Crystal for Mist's next turn. All right, let's just, I guess we can do this. We know what the last card's going to be because everyone gets 2 turns in a round. It will be player 2. So player 2, let's go over and we're going to see what player 2 is going to do this time. All right, player 2. Well, player 2 has a prepped spell, and it is in an open breach. So she may or may not cast it. We do not have to cast this, but I think it's in her best interest to cast it. So we can do one of two things. We can deal 1 damage or cast one of your prep spells without discarding it. Well, we don't have any other prep spells, so this is not going to happen. We could leave it there, prep another spell for next time. I think it's a good idea to use it right now. We're going to cast it, we're going to deal 1 damage, and let's not forget, Open Breach number 4 adds +1 damage. So when we use this to deal 1 damage, what's going to happen, we immediately discard it, is we're going to deal 2 damage. Let's go back to these awful minions and Rageborne and see where we want to direct the 2 damage. And you can't split damage. You got to do all of the damage to one area. So you can't do 1 to one and 1 to another, just to let you know. All right, once again, we have our 3 options. We can hit the Rageborne for 2 damage, or we can hit one of either minion for 2 damage. I think we're going to keep pounding on the Provoker. We're going to do 2 more damage to that Provoker, because if by some trick of luck or fate that player 1 gets to go first in turn order after we shuffle, it's possible for us to knock them right out of the picture before the Rageborne Nemesis gets to go. All right, let's go back to Zahanna and complete her turn. All right, so as you can see, pretty fast playing once you kind of know what you're doing. So player 2, this is her hand. She has a Spark, Crystal, Crystal, Crystal. So we're going to take our Spark and we're going to prep it to Open Breach number 4. So there we go, and that's that. Now we have to decide what we want to do with our 4 ether. 4 ether, we could focus one of these breaches. This costs 2 to focus, and then we would have 2 more to spend. We could add a charge to our area, getting this closer to opening, so we would have 2 spell locations, or we could buy a card. We can take a look. I don't know if buying spells for her is the best. I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to use her for. We're also going to buy a Searing Ruby, which is gain 2 ether. Gain an additional 1 ether can be used to buy a spell. So we're going to take this. We're going to buy it. Yeah, that's what we're going to do with the 4. We're going to go, and of course, as soon as you buy a spell, a relic, or a gem, it immediately goes on your discard pile. So she's spent all of her ether, she's prepped her spell. There's nothing else we can do for Zahanna this time. So again, we can put our cards we've played this turn in any order. Well, they're all the same. They're going to go on the top here. Now we're into the draw phase, which means we flip the deck over, and we're going to pick up the top 5 cards, which will be her next hand. And the 5 cards for her next turn is her Eternal Ember, spell 1, 2, 3, and 4 crystals. That's going to be her hand for next time. All right, let's zoom out, wrap up round 1, and that will be the end of this episode. All right, so once again, I can't really get everything in the camera without zooming 5 miles back, so I'm not going to bother. So where we sit right now, of course, we have to shuffle this. So I'm going to do a little shuffling right here, so you can see that. And then when we come back, every episode, I will pre-shuffle this deck again, so you can tell that I'm not cheating. But there's a little rough shuffle for right now. That will be our turn order deck for the next episode. So Gravehold down to 29 hit points. It got hit once. We have a Provoker out, which hits Gravehold the amount of rage tokens every turn, and we have this Bane Spire, which does Unleash, which adds rage tokens onto, or Fury tokens onto the Rageborne. Oh, nasty. He's still at, of course, full hit points, 70. We are still at full hit points, 10 each. And, okay, so Mist has 2 breaches open. Zahanna has 1 breach open. And we're slowly building up our deck by getting some better cards. And so I'm going to leave it here for today. This is Aeon's End. We're playing against Rageborne. We're playing with Mist. We're playing with Zahanna. 2-player game. And yeah, this is a tough one, but it's quite a fun deck building or deck crafting. Or I guess it's a deck builder, but you don't shuffle your discards. So that's a little bit different. And the open breach mechanism is kind of cool as well. So thanks so much for watching along. This again is Aeon's End, so thanks for your subscriptions, your comments, your likes, very much appreciated. Join me next time for the continuation. Will be round 2 of Aeon's End. Can we defeat the Rageborne before it destroys Gravehold or knocks both of our heroes into the exhausted state? I don't know. Stay tuned and we'll find out. So thanks so much for watching along, and we'll see you next time.